Well, hello, Governor. Today on Imaginerds, we're going to be talking about 10 facts about Walt Disney's crowning achievement, his masterpiece film, Mary Poppins. That's right, let's get right to it, step in time and stuff. Fact number 1. L Travers, the author of the Mary Poppins book, was, to say the least, a little bit difficult to work with. It took Walt Disney nearly 20 years to get the film rights for Mary Poppins because L Travers was so resistant and hesitant to make her book into a film with Disney. It was because of a promise that Walt Disney made to his daughters 20 years before the film was made that he would make their favorite book into a Disney film. And as I said, she was very difficult to work with. When the film came out, she was appalled by it. She didn't like animation at all in her film. She didn't like the way that the Banks house looked. She didn't even like Dick Van Dyke as the role of Bert. And actually, during production meetings, she would record the whole meeting so that they would have on record what she said she wanted in the film. And if you watch the movie Saving Mr. Banks, this movie right here, you can kind of see that relationship that she had with Walt Disney and the production team at that time. And if you get the Walt Disney Legacy Collection soundtrack of Mary Poppins, the whole third disc is the recordings of L Travers and the Sherman Brothers and Walt Disney, like in production meetings, and her being a little bit difficult to work with. Fact number 2. Richard and Robert Sherman, also known as the Sherman Brothers, or the Boys as they were known on the Disney lot, became the first on-staff musicians at the Disney studios because of Mary Poppins. They wrote about 30 songs for the film. Obviously they didn't all make it in, but they wrote all the music and lyrics for that wonderful movie, such as Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Step in Time, Feed the Birds. All those wonderful songs are written by the Sherman Brothers, and I don't think the movie would be the same without them. Alright blokes, it's time for fact number 3. Speaking of the song Feed the Birds that Mary Poppins sings when she's talking about the old bird lady at the steps of the cathedral, Feed the Birds became not just Walt Disney's personal favorite song in the movie, but his favorite song of all time. He actually was known every single Friday to go to the Sherman Brothers office and request a private performance of the song because he thought that that song really encapsulated what the whole film was about and really what his whole goal of the Disney studios and the movies he made was about. Number 4. So one of the funnier fun facts about this movie is during the scene where all of the nannies are lined up at the Banks' door to interview to become the Banks children's new nanny. And many of the nannies lined up outside are actually men dressed in drag. And this was because they were stuntmen. And if you know the movie well enough, you know that eventually a wind comes in and blows all the nannies away. And of course this effect was done by wires, which they needed stuntmen for so that the nannies could fly away on wires. And so in Mary Poppins you have a lot of men in dresses flying away in the wind, which is kind of funny. Number 5. Mary Poppins got 13 Academy Award nominations for the film and won 5 of them. Those 5 Oscars included Best Actress for Julie Andrews, Best Film Editing, Best Original Music Score, Best Visual Effects, and Best Original Song for Chim Chim Cheree. Fact number 6. Mary Poppins was actually Julie Andrews' first film, which is amazing because she did an amazing job with the role and of course, as I said, won an Oscar for her performance in Mary Poppins. And before that, she was actually on Broadway and got discovered by Disney, but she originally turned down the role because she wanted to play the lead in the movie My Fair Lady, which eventually Audrey Hepburn got cast for. And what's funny about that is both Audrey Hepburn and Julie Andrews got nominated for Best Actress for Mary Poppins and My Fair Lady, but Julie Andrews came out on top and won the Oscar. Sorry, Audrey. She's Mary Poppins, what are you gonna do? It's time for fact number 7! So the Oscar-winning special effects achievement in this film was the sodium vapor process. And it actually was the predecessor to things like green screen and blue screen that we use today. The characters were shot in front of white, which was then lit with sodium vapor lights, and the camera caught this very narrow color spectrum and divided it into 2 films. A piece of film with just the characters on it, and a piece of film with a black and white matte. And this allowed them to be able to put the characters, the live action actors, in front of cartoon backgrounds. So that is what made the whole chalk drawing scene, when they jump into the chalk drawing and go into an animated world, it made that whole scene possible, and was then used later in other films like Pete's Dragon and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Well, chim chim cheree, it's time for fact number 8. So, Dick Van Dyke has gotten a lot of flack over the years for his attempt at a Cockney accent in this film. But he said in defense that some of that was due to his own vocal coach, an Irish vocal coach named Pat O'Malley, who, according to him, didn't do an accent better than I did. Number 9, come on everybody, number 9! Another little fun fact about Dick Van Dyke's involvement in the film is that even though he was already cast as Bert, he really wanted to play the president of the bank, the villainous Mr. Dawes, in the film. And that is Dick Van Dyke in an old man makeup doing Mr. Dawes in the film. And he actually convinced Walt Disney to let him do it, and got a screen test in and said he would make a donation to Cal Arts. So he actually pretty much paid to do the role because he wanted to do it so bad. So that really shows how much Dick Van Dyke was dedicated to this film and really enjoyed making the film. And he will actually be reprising that role in the new Mary Poppins Returns as the son of Mr. Dawes. So that'll be really interesting. He might not need as much makeup, because he's a little older now. Oh, fact number 10 makes the medicine go down, the medicine go down. So, Mary Poppins, when it was released in theaters, was a box office smash. It made $31 million when it released, which doesn't seem like a lot today when you compare it to the Avengers or Star Wars films and what they make, but in terms of today, $31 million equals to about $268.3 million. And so it was Walt Disney's highest grossing film for 20 years. And because of the financial success of this film, Walt Disney was able to keep WED Enterprises, which later became Walt Disney Imagineering, afloat. So if it weren't for Mary Poppins, the success of Disneyland and audio animatronics and all of the things we've come to know and love at Disneyland might not have been possible. So thank you, Mary Poppins, for making the happiest place on earth possible. Well, thank you blokes for watching this video on 10 facts about Mary Poppins. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up down below and leave us a comment on what your favorite thing about Mary Poppins is. And please subscribe to our channel Imaginerds so you don't miss any of the fun that we bring to you every single week. Thank you all, and we'll see you real soon, you hear? Man, I think my accent is worse than Dick Van Dyke's. Did that sound Australian to you guys? I think it was more Australian than Cockney. Oh well.